I never imagined that selling my house would spiral into a legal mess, but that's exactly what happened when Patricia Winters, our HOA president, decided to make it personal. I had lived in Oak Ridge Estates for 7 quiet years. I paid my dues on time, kept my lawn neatly trimmed to the exact 3 inches required, and never once had a run-in with the HOA. But everything changed when I got a job promotion across the country and decided to list my home for sale. Patricia, better known to neighbors as Queen Karen behind her back, saw my move not as a normal life event, but as some sort of challenge to her authority. And that's when the trouble began. The drama kicked off the day I put up a for sale sign. I'd followed every rule outlined in our exhaustive HOA handbook. The sign was the right size, color, and placed exactly where it was allowed. It had been up for less than 3 hours when I got a text from Patricia. Your sign violates Section 12.4 of our community guidelines. Remove it immediately or face a daily fine of $75. I double-checked the handbook and confirmed the sign was perfectly compliant. I even sent her a polite message with photo evidence. Her response came minutes later. The board recently revised that section. Check your email for the update. There was no such email. And when I asked for a copy of the new rules, she simply stopped responding. The next morning, I found a bright orange violation notice taped to my mailbox. Ironically, that was a violation itself, since HOA guidelines clearly prohibit attaching anything to mailboxes. The message was loud and clear. Patricia was going to make this difficult. That same afternoon, I had my first showing scheduled. Nothing kills a sale like a neon orange violation. Slapped at eye level. I removed it, took photos for documentation, and hoped it was just a one-time display of power. I was wrong. During the showing, Patricia just happened to walk her toy poodle past my house. 3 times within an hour. Each time, she stopped to warn potential buyers about various issues with the property. She claimed the foundation was unstable, that the previous owners had covered up black mold, and that I was involved in a boundary dispute, all completely made up. When my real estate agent confronted her, Patricia just smiled and said she was making sure any new neighbors were fully informed. Needless to say, that couple left quickly and never followed up. This continued for weeks. Every time I had a showing, Patricia found a new way to sabotage it. Once, my security camera caught her leaving a few dead plants by my porch before scheduled viewing, then removing them afterward. Another time, she parked her car so it partially blocked my driveway and claimed she was within her rights because it was technically community right-of-way. I documented everything. Every encounter, every odd disruption, every questionable comment. Then I got the certified letter. The HOA was fining me $2,000 for ongoing violations and failure to comply with community standards. The list included 12 so-called violations, each more ridiculous than the last. According to the letter, my lawn had exceeded the height limit by 1/8 of an inch on 3 separate days. My mailbox was non-compliant because it was painted slate gray, the exact shade recommended in the handbook. And the most absurd claim? I was being fined for unauthorized solar equipment because I had a small solar-powered garden light illuminating my house number. That's when I knew I needed to take action, by the book, as allowed in the HOA bylaws. I formally requested a hearing with the full board. It was time to put an end to Patricia's campaign. Patricia's response came quickly. The board had unanimously voted to deny my request for a hearing. That struck me as suspicious. So I started contacting board members individually. What I found was both alarming and revealing. 3 of them had no idea I had even submitted a hearing request. In fact, they weren't aware of many of the so-called violations Patricia had sent out in the board's name. Things escalated when, despite all the chaos, a couple actually made an offer on my home. We scheduled the inspection, started the paperwork, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. Then, out of nowhere, the buyers backed out. Their agent hesitantly explained why. They had received an anonymous email, supposedly from the county, with attached documents claiming my property had severe structural problems, repairs totaling over $50,000. The documents looked official, stamped with county letterhead and formatting that could fool anyone, but something felt off. The next morning, I went down to the county records office to investigate. It didn't take long to confirm my suspicion. Those documents were complete forgeries. Someone had taken legitimate-looking templates and inserted fake inspection details. I filed a police report that afternoon. I had my suspicions about who was behind it, of course, but I needed more than a hunch. The responding officer was skeptical at first. He suggested it might be a civil matter. HOA disputes often are. But once I showed him the full timeline, the fake violations, the dead plants, blocked driveways, and now the forged documents, and backed it all up with photos, text messages, and a statement from my real estate agent, he agreed it warranted a criminal investigation. What Patricia didn't know was that I worked in digital forensics. I couldn't access her personal devices, but I could dig into the metadata of the forged PDFs. That's when things started to unravel. The police analysis revealed that the forged files had an author tag embedded in the document properties. P. Winters. Subtlety clearly wasn't her strength, but the real break came when detectives secured a warrant to access her email records. Not only had Patricia sent the forged inspection reports to my potential buyers, but investigators found similar emails sent to at least 4 other residents, each one targeting homeowners who had previously clashed with her. According to the detective, forging government documents is a felony in our state, and using those forged documents to sabotage a financial transaction, that elevated it to fraud. On top of that, the fact she had mailed some of the forgeries through USPS opened her up to federal mail fraud charges. When they confronted her with the evidence, Patricia initially tried to downplay everything. She claimed she was just trying to preserve the integrity of the neighborhood and that I had overreacted. But when the detective brought up the possibility of federal charges, her composure began to crack. The morning of her arrest was surreal. I wasn't home when it happened, but several neighbors captured video of the scene. Patricia being escorted in handcuffs from her pristine colonial, still wearing her sun hat and gardening gloves. At first, she tried to hold her head high until she noticed a small crowd watching from the sidewalk. Then she snapped. "This is a witch hunt," she shouted. "I did everything to protect this neighborhood. You people are ungrateful." Her tiny poodle barked wildly from behind the front window as the squad car rolled away. That same evening, the HOA called an emergency meeting. It quickly became clear that Patricia had been running a kind of shadow government, issuing violation notices without board approval, making unilateral decisions, and even forging board members' signatures on official documents. The HOA's vice president, a retired attorney named Jim, stood before the group, clearly shaken. He apologized to me and to several other homeowners who had endured similar harassment, and it wasn't over yet. The board didn't waste any time. At the emergency meeting, they unanimously voted to rescind every fine Patricia had issued over the past year, pending a full review. More importantly, they permanently banned her from holding any future leadership position within the HOA. But Patricia's problems didn't end there. It turned out she was a licensed real estate agent, something she had never disclosed during her campaign against the sale of my home. Once the truth came out, the state licensing board launched a formal ethics investigation. Her broker, eager to distance themselves, immediately placed her on unpaid leave while the criminal case unfolded. At her arraignment, the judge set her bail at $25,000 and issued a strict no-contact order. Patricia was not allowed to approach or communicate with anyone in the neighborhood. With her out of the picture, I relist my home. This time, there were no surprise emails, no stage distractions, no sudden walk-bys with toy poodles. Within a week, the house sold, at full asking price. On the day I moved out, as the last box was loaded into the truck, I looked up at Patricia's house one last time. There she was, standing in the window. She was holding a thick envelope in one hand, likely her court summons, and what looked like a legal bill in the other. Her ankle monitor was clearly visible beneath her capris, flashing faintly in the sunlight. Our eyes met, her expression twisted with rage and humiliation, but for once, she couldn't say a word. She couldn't do anything, and that silence was everything I needed.